Welcome back to another episode of Dota Basics. In this episode we're going to cover disable types, anything from slows to stuns to roots. And once again, thanks to Red Bull as well as the Patreons for making this video series happen. I hope it's been very helpful for you guys watching. All spells are unique from one another in small or large ways, and many abilities have multiple kinds of disables within the same spell and various extremes of damage. So let's break down each type of disable so you can understand the tools at your disposal or the threats to your hero. The strongest kind of disables are stuns, because they prevent your hero from taking any action during the duration. That means you can't move or turn your hero, and you can't use items or cast spells. Because stuns are so all-encompassing, they don't often last for huge durations, but there are some exceptions. Tidehunter's ultimate Ravage stuns and damages all enemies nearby you for a pretty decent duration of a few seconds. If you want a much longer stun duration, consider using Bane's ultimate Fiend's Grip, since that stuns a target for up to 5 seconds if Bane's channeling isn't interrupted. How do you interrupt channeling, you might ask? Well, that's another useful thing that stuns do. If your hero is channeling a spell or something like a teleport scroll and is stunned, then the channeling is interrupted. The same goes for something simple like an animation. If your hero is winding up to cast a spell but you get stunned, your hero has to start the animation over again. Another powerful disable like stuns is Hex. When hexed, your hero is unable to cast a spell, attack, use items, and you're turned into a small creature, like a frog or something, depending on who hexes you. On the bright side, you can move at a slow 100 movement speed and turn your hero towards safety. You're a small creature after all. This can be nice if an ally has a force staff to push you to safety while you're hexed, whereas if you're stunned while you're running into danger, you're not going to be able to turn around and escape. Any hero can purchase the item Scythe of Vice if they want to hex their enemies and turn them into a small creature. The most common disable type in Dota 2 is probably slows. Slows reduce your hero's movement speed by a percentage amount. They sometimes also reduce the speed that your hero can attack, but that's a lot more rare. To give you the obvious explanation about why slows are useful, slows are best used to prevent enemy heroes from moving where they want to go as rapidly. This is obvious, but it's important to remember that small positioning changes in Dota can drastically alter teamfight outcomes. That could mean a hero is out of position, and you want to slow them so that they stay out of position longer while you kill them. Or maybe you're out of position and you want to slow your enemies while you run away. Another common type of disable is silence. When affected by silence, your hero is prevented from casting spells until the silence ends. In terms of channeling a spell like Fiend's Grip, silencing a channeling hero will prevent them from continuing to channel their spell, just like stuns. However, keep in mind that silence won't interrupt teleport scroll or other item channeling, because silence only prevents spells, not items. There aren't actually that many heroes with silence abilities, but any player can purchase the item Orchid of Malevolence to silence their opponents. Another common disable type are roots, which function similar to slows in that they restrict player movement. The difference is that being rooted completely stops your hero from moving, whereas being slowed will leave you 100 movement speed at least. Another great benefit to roots is that they also prevent many mobility-based skills. For example, heroes with blink abilities that allow them to teleport short distances can't use those abilities when rooted. There's an item, Rod of Atos, that roots enemies if you feel the need to purchase it, but keep in mind that a silence might solve the same problem if it prevents a hero from using their ability. Another cool perk to roots is that a hero attempting to go invisible will stay visible until the root ends, so try to use a dust or put down a sentry ward so you can retain vision before the root ends and they get away. Some roots from heroes are a bit inconsistent with their other disable qualities, so keep that in mind when encountering heroes that can root you. For example, some roots against enemies disarm in addition, ensuring enemies can't attack or move when rooted. Some roots also have a very small mini stun at the start to interrupt teleport scrolls or channeling abilities. To find out exactly what the skill or item does, reading the tooltip is going to help. Cyclone is a fairly common type of disable in Dota 2 because of the item Yule's Scepter that lets you cyclone an enemy or yourself. When cycloned in the air, heroes are pretty much invulnerable and incapable of being affected by an ability. Cyclone is useful to set up hard to land abilities on enemies since it has a set time, or to put yourself in the air to dodge powerful spells or high damage. Similar to Cyclone is Banish. Banishing a hero removes them from the map, preventing any damage while they are there. What differentiates this from Cyclone is that the hero is incapable of being affected in any way, even damage, until the banish ends, whereas Cyclones can be ended early if dispelled. Dispels are pretty important in Dota 2 because they give you the ability to work around the disables that players place on you and your allies, or they can be used to remove positive buffs on enemies that you wish weren't there, like a double damage rune. Weak dispels affect weaker type of disables, stuff like slows, silences, roots, or cyclones. Dispelling the disable is useful, especially because the disables often come with damage as well, so dispelling them helps in multiple ways. Strong dispels remove the same stuff as weak dispels, but they also get rid of harder hitting disables like stuns. This can give you a huge tactical advantage since you can counteract an ability if you react in time. A stun that should disable a hero for 2 seconds can be reduced to some small fraction of a second. Let's cover a couple more of the rare disable types. I mentioned Disarm is caused by a few rare root abilities, but can also be applied in a few other ways. The most common source is the item Heaven's Halberd, that when used on an enemy disarms them for a few seconds and prevents them from attacking. Mutes are very powerful, but there's 2 kinds of them. The most important one is muting players in the chat window if they're being assholes. The other kind of mute prevents an enemy from using their items. The most common spell that mutes you is Doom's ultimate, Doom, but it's a bit misleading because Doom also silences you, so it prevents you from using your items and from using your abilities. The item Nullifier is probably a better example of mute since it prevents item usage but not ability usage. Break is a newer type of disable which is best used against heroes with pesky passive abilities. Heroes like Phantom Assassin can be annoying because of her evasion passive, but using Break on her ensures that you can attack her successfully for the duration. Taunts are disables that force an opponent to attack a specific target or move towards them until they can attack them. The most common examples are Axe's Berserker's Call or Legion Commander's Duel ability. Ethereal is most often used on yourself with the item Ghost Scepter, but being ethereal gives you 100% resistance to physical damage and you can't be attacked, and it prevents you from attacking for the duration as well, but it increases the magical damage you take while it's active. Now that you know most of the disable types and that dispels can remove a bunch of them, let's cover a couple basic ways to protect yourself from disables. The easiest way to protect yourself is to kill your enemy before they get to even cast their spells on you. For example, you could stun them until they die, preventing a reaction, or maybe silence them to prevent them from casting a spell. The best defense is a good offense. However, the best disable prevention, if you can't disable all enemies, is buying the item Black King Bar. Black King Bar makes you spell immune when activated and gives you 100% resistance to magic. Very few spells can affect heroes who are spell immune, so it lets you jump into a fight without worrying about your hero as much. Even if the effects of the spell can affect your hero, which is usually reserved for powerful ultimate abilities, the damage often won't be dealt because of the magic resistance granted by the Black King Bar. Another perk is that activating the BKB also puts a strong dispel on your hero, so if weaker abilities are slowing you or dealing damage, you can instantly activate BKB to remove them, as long as you aren't muted. And that's it for disable types. That should cover most of the broad topics for the Dota Basics series. We may cover and add more in the future, but for now I recommend jumping over to Learn Dota series. You guys should have a good basic understanding of how Dota works, what kinds of things exist, and now we can start framing your mind around how to play Dota well and how to become a better player. Jump on over there, and thanks for watching.